As of this morning, the news is reporting that the American government has so far struck at 7 vessels in the Caribbean, killing or executing a total of 30 civilians in what they say is international waters around the Caribbean areas of Venezuela, Trinidad and Tobago, and Colombia. Again, they are saying it's international waters. So far, the American government have not produced any evidence that those persons killed or executed were involved in drug trafficking or the cartel. What I am troubled about is that the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago is supporting these actions which are unjustified and they are war crimes. As the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago is an attorney by profession. She should know better. She has been in the political arena long enough to know that such actions should not be applauded and should be condemned.
A video shared by U.S. President Donald Trump on his Truth Social platform appears to show the military strike on a submarine in the Caribbean accused of being a drug-carrying vessel. The strike was carried out on Thursday and killed 2 people, according to Trump.
So those were civilian vessels, and according to national law, it considered or constitute extrajudicial executions, and that is because of the overwhelming amount of force being used on civilians. The U.S. is not engaged in any armed conflict with Venezuela, Colombia, Trinidad, or any alleged criminal group. Under human rights laws and standards, officials engaging in such enforcement should minimize injury and preserve human life. Lethal force should only be used when it's strictly unavoidable to protect against an imminent threat of death or serious injury, which was not the case here. The law prohibits the arbitrary killing of people. The use of lethal force is permitted in extremely limited circumstances under various international standards. However, what remains the same is that everyone is entitled to the right to life and safety. What we are seeing there is considered extrajudicial killings, which is a war crime. Madam Prime Minister, you are an attorney. You cannot support such actions. An extrajudicial execution is the deliberate killing of persons or person by a government without any legal process or judicial oversight. It is a profound violation of the victim's fundamental right to life. The legality of killings under any international law is determined by a specific context. We cannot have a government unleashing a death squad in the Caribbean, Madam Prime Minister. The use of these military units, which is operating implicitly or explicitly under the president to kill or dissidents or kill persons involved in drug trafficking, is and should not be supported. Which is better, killing persons or those selling drugs? Under international human rights law, the body of law that governs our system, it establishes a high threshold for the lawful use of lethal force by any enforcement organization or state. That force must be absolutely necessary. It must be strictly proportional and used as a last resort after non-violent means are ineffective, such as, in this case, the U.S. government has the resources to intercept any of these vessels, challenge them, arrest them, and if and only if they are met with force, then they can apply a proportionate amount of force. Under international humanitarian law, the Geneva Convention, the law of war, all of these says that we cannot use that amount of force, and these are civilian persons. These are not enemy combatants. They were not in any way engaging anyone. The direct participation in hostilities was not a concern of these people. Civilians, generally, they would lose their protection if they become a participant in any hostility. The principle of proportionality prohibits attack that may cause incidental loss to life and property. In this case, the American government imposed the death penalty on persons without due process, without any proof of wrongdoing. The death penalty is abolished in most countries, and when it's applied in those countries that still have it, there must be exceptional circumstances for this exceptional type of punishment. Regardless of international law, Madam Prime Minister, everyone should have a right to life and due process. If you are saying so, I am very concerned, Madam Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. Are you going to unleash this same hostility towards our population? Are you going to create a death squad also? I am kind of concerned. Which is more egregious, killing people or selling drugs? Everyone is entitled to due process. We cannot have a foreign leader doing as he or she wants in the Caribbean. You cannot have a convicted felon whose rap sheet is longer than any one of those people that he killed roaming freely, and you are saying we should kill all these people violently. Madam Prime Minister, if you believe in that level of violence, you should step down as the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, unless those persons went through the due process.